Hello and welcome to my channel. This past weekend I participated in the Virginia QSO Party. Let me tell you about that. Welcome back and thanks for being here. My name is Scott and the Virginia QSO Party. It is a communications exercise, also a contest to many. Because there's points, it is a contest. My opinion. Some people say it's not a contest, it's an exercise. Regardless, a QSO is it's ham speak for a conversation between two stations. And so the idea behind a state QSO party is to make contact with as many hams or stations within that state as you can, with the idea in, I think, all cases being to make contact with individual counties, as many as you can. Kind of like collecting stamps. I've compared POTA to collecting stamps electronically anyway. Stations outside of Virginia, their goal is to make contact only with Virginia stations, also checking off all of these counties so you can get these Worked All County awards and things like that. So that's kind of the bottom line compressed gist of the Virginia QSO Party. And then there's all these different categories. And so there is fixed, which is, I think, most often people at their houses. I don't know if portables going out and setting up in a park. I suppose that's fixed because they're not moving. They're going to set up and stay there for the duration of the contest. And then there is mobile, expedition, and rover. I think rover is a new category. And so a mobile is, that's what I did. And so with a mobile, I am moving between county lines and I'm working from within different counties. And the concept behind a mobile setup is everything is self-contained. I can drive exactly as I'm configured and I don't have to set things up when I get to a station. I think the difference between a mobile and a rover is the rover is everything is in or on the vehicle, but when they arrive, they have to set it up, maybe erect a permanently mounted antenna, but they can't drive like that. They have to set it up. Although they are allowed to operate while they're on the move if they have antennas that are capable of it. And then the expedition, they pack everything into the vehicle and then they go to a site and set up. And then they tear down and move on to someplace else. So I think expeditions do move from county to county. So what's the point of it, right? Well, there are some counties that they just can't be worked because no amateur radio operators live there, or maybe the ones that do live there, they don't contest. And so rovers, mobiles, and expeditionary vehicles would go to those counties and then they become the point of contact. Likewise, if you, in my case, I didn't go to those counties. I just drove around surrounding independent cities and counties so I could activate as many as I could. That was my goal. And when a fixed station, actually any station, when any station contacts a mobile, rover, or expeditionary, I'm just going to call them all mobile because we all sign with the stroke M at the back of our call sign, it's 3 points. And so there we are attractive to the to other stations out there because we're worth more points. There's multipliers in there. And every time we move from one county to the next, we then become a brand new station all over again for the purposes of the scoring. So if I talk to my next door neighbor while I'm sitting at home, and then I move over to the next city and I talk to my next door neighbor again, that's two different contacts, and each one is 3 points instead of one. And so it's triple the points, and potentially it just gets more and more and more the more I drive around and they're still able to get in touch with me. So that's what's going on there. All right, so I spent a little much time describing what's going on in the contest. I had started shooting a video during the contest to show you what it was all about and how I was set up, but I didn't like the way it turned out because of the way the lighting was. And right now I've got some studio lights set up and it's making my pretty face a little prettier. But I also had shared a setup where I took my headset here. I didn't want to wear it. I mean, I wore it for a little bit and then I just decided I didn't want it on my head. So I basically hung it from right here and had it right in front of my mouth, and I was able to just push the button. And so I'm listening through the speaker, but still talking on this very high quality mic. And everything is removed from the car. So I won't be able to show you exactly what I did, but I'm just going to give you a quick overview. So for the contest, I removed non-essential antennas, so there's no horizontal loops mounted, and I took off some of my verticals, and so I have the Scorpion mounted back there. I think you can see it. The Scorpion is mounted to my FT891, and that was my bread and butter during this contest. And so for the Scorpion, I was operating mostly on 40 meters. The vast majority of my contacts are made on 40 meters, and this thing is a powerhouse there. I also did some 20 meters with it, 20 meters being 14 megs, 40 meters being 7 megs, and then I even was able to do some 80 meter work with it, and 80 meters is 3.8 megs, 3.9-ish. And so, yeah, the Scorpion, it got its work out, that's for sure. I also have my ATAS 120 still mounted, and my goal with that was to have it used as a 10 meter antenna, and so I did make 1 or 2 10 meter contacts, that's 28 megahertz, and I have my dual band mounted for VHF and UHF. I don't think I had any contest contacts on there, so mostly that was just casual conversations if I wasn't actually working. All right, so the other thing I had was my laptop was set up, and so what I did is I've got this desk here that slips right onto the steering wheel, and then I put my computer right here in front of me, and this is where I was logging. And so my push to talk button for the headset is right here, and I've got a magnet glued to the back of it. And so I would just set that up on the corner of the desk, and then I like to just press and hold, make my QSO, or make my transmission, and then I just let go and put my hands right on the keyboard and get to typing. So when somebody has whenever they call or give me a report, I am already ready to type, and then moving over to hit that button again is just 3 or 4 inches to move to transmit, and I like that. Some people would consider this to be a foot switch, and in the car I don't really care for the foot switch. I just put it right there and use it. Maybe I'll set it in my lap sometimes if I'm actually driving, but for contest, for POTA, I log and I will park. So parked, I do the logs, and yeah, that's how that went. All right, so log work is boring. I'm not necessarily going to get into a lot of details there, but what I will say is that according to the log, I made 323 contacts, and I'm going to use the word activating because I don't know what language we use in the QSO party, but I activated 18 entities, and so that would be a combination of independent cities and counties. I worked from 18 of them. I had a bigger plan than that, but it was more than I could, I bit off more than I could chew on there. So I ran out of time at the end of Saturday evening, and I didn't get home until after midnight. And I drove through a bunch of counties after I had stopped operating because there just was no time. There comes this point where parking at a business or something that is closed, it's just a bad idea. There's no telling what can happen as far as strangers approaching the car or police officers saying, hey, what are you doing here? And so I just prefer not to even mess with that kind of stuff. So yeah, after about 11 o'clock, I stopped operating because it was just, it just wasn't worth the risk of hassle. And I think I could also say that the participation was starting to dry up a little bit because people were going to sleep. And that's okay. So I got up the very next morning, and that was when I worked a lot of independent cities and did another rove and worked the rest of the counties that I did. Tactics. I could use some advice on that. I think my practice was to drive to an entity. I usually set up in a parking lot someplace. When I say set up, I really just mean park. I park, maybe erect the shades if I think I need them, plop my table here on the steering wheel and get my computer going. That's a setup. So nothing outside the vehicle. I pretty much park the car and get to work. Oftentimes it was at a grocery store parking lot or maybe a restaurant where I was going to grab something to eat. I can't think of some of these other places. I didn't do any schools or libraries or anything like that. So it was all businesses, I think. And I would operate. What I didn't know is in order for me to get a multiplier for operating in each county, I needed to collect at least 10 contacts. And so there are several of these places where I miss the multiplier although I did give other people multipliers by operating there. So lesson learned for next time. So I would try to get at least 10 before I moved on to the next entity. But sometimes if I could, I would sit and I would work until I ran out of contacts. And that takes up a lot of time. Especially, here's the part where I could use a tip. There's what's called hunt and pounce, where I would look at the spotter page, find somebody who's out there, and then I would call them. And sometimes those calls went pretty smoothly, although I did have to wait my turn to get in there and contact them. For the most part, I was able to make contact with everybody that I could hear. There were a few really popular stations where I could not compete with the powerful stations. There was no busting up a pilot for me. But as long as there wasn't competition to reach that station, if I could hear them, I could work them, with one notable exception, and that would be my own club. They could not quite hear me, although I could hear them. It was all very faint, not even registering on the S meter, and so I wouldn't have expected them to hear me, and they didn't. What I think works better as far as points go, it's if I could find a frequency and camp on it, that is much faster, way faster. Once I'm discovered, then the calls just start coming to me and I rack up more QSOs. And that, I think, is more beneficial. The bands were pretty crowded, and so I couldn't really find a good camping frequency at every location. So that was why I would hunt, pounce, and then move on. But there's got to be a way, because I got to tell you about this one guy. I don't remember his call. I'll put his call sign up here to get it out there. But that guy. So I felt like I was doing all right with 323 contacts. All right. I mean, I was sufficiently or adequately busy during my time setting up and operating. But that guy, over 2,300 contacts. And I didn't realize at the time that I had emailed him and got a little bit of advice from him before, but I didn't know what questions to ask at that point. Now I have new questions, and I told him I was going to contact him. So I asked him, I said, hey, do you have a driver? Are you driving and doing all of this? So your driver is driving and you're operating? And he says, no, he's a solo outfit, just like what I'm doing here. So then my question, I told him I'd contact him when he's not so busy, because he was busy, right? He didn't have time to talk to me. So I want to know, how was he logging? Because he clearly was keeping track of call signs. Because I know, unless he's really good, I know that whenever I reach out to somebody and I don't quite get their call sign, I could ask them. And when I'm driving, I can't hear as well. So he had a system down to where he was being spotted. So he might have had a partner there spotting him. People would find him, and then he would just start making contacts. And as far as I know, he was, for the most part, on the move. I'm sure he stopped someplace and talked. So I'm sure he stopped someplace and talked along the way. But for the most part, he was moving and constantly making contact. So how did he log it? Or is he right now, because the contest ended yesterday, right? So maybe right now he's at home listening to voice recordings, which would be about 20 hours of voice recordings, and then get everything in the log now. Maybe that's what he's doing. I don't know. I got to find out from him. So I'm going to reach out and contact him, get some tips, and see what he has to say. Maybe I can be more successful. Not that I'm ever going to compete with him. I think he's been winning his category in the mobile for the past 3 years at least, and his resume goes back even farther than that in other contests. But I hope to ally with that operator and maybe get better on my get better with his help. All right, so let's see other things to mention about the contest. My desk, this big thing in the passenger seat, I'm using it less, and so I think I'm going to make some changes to it. I mean, yeah, I had my computer on it, but it was just a place for the computer to ride, and then I would unstrap it, bring it over here, and put it down in front of me. And even now, that's what I do with this tablet. I can't show it to you because my stuff fell over, but I use a tablet for POTA, so I don't use this desk so much anymore. It does house my rotator controller and my digital interface for when I do FT8, and I'd like to run some RTTY with it also. But other than that, this desk, while it was cool at first, I find it to be large, cumbersome, and mostly unnecessary. So I'm going to create something smaller so that it doesn't take up so much space, and maybe it'll ride lower, and it'll still be a place for my computer to ride, so it's out of the way, but it won't be this big bulky thing, because this filing area is just a collection of papers and stuff that I don't really care about. The digital interface, I'm sorry, I got club members, clubmates who they swear by FT8. It's digital crack is what they say, and FT8, I guess it's cool for making contact or seeing where your signal's coming down, but it's boring. I'm sorry, it's boring. I don't get any particular thrill out of it, and I'm not going to say it's not ham radio. It's just not my kind of ham radio. So because I don't find value in it, I don't need the digital interface in the car all the time. I'm not getting rid of it. I'm just not going to use it in the car so much because I like the idea of having the extra space. What else? I took damage to the car. I hit a loose tree stump in the road, and thankfully I was barely moving when I hit it, so it broke some plastic pieces on my front bumper, and it kind of peeled back my brand new paint protective film at the edge because it caught right at the edge. So I'm going to get the PPF replaced. My PPF guy says he'll just do it for nothing, and that's awfully nice of him. And then I need to order the plastic piece that got broken and figure out how to put that on. I'm not sure if the bumper's going to come off in order for me to do that or not. But I'm not going to a body shop. I'll just fix it myself. Let me tell you about some websites that I was monitoring. One of them is a state map with all the counties highlighted in different colors. And this is a mobile tracker where I can drill down. And let's see if we can find my old track under here. So if I were to click on that, then it breaks down and it brings up these different calls. So there's me. This is when I was in Surrey County. This is one of the last counties I worked last night before I ran out of time. I was hoping to run into this K4 APR guy. We've talked on the repeater before, I think. And there was a point where we were only a mile or two away from each other. But I couldn't get him on the radio, so I was eating lunch when I saw he was so close. It would have been cool to get together and meet him, but it didn't work out. But what it also has is this mini tracker here, so you can see the basic stats of here I am in Surrey County. Here's somebody else, and I don't know what MEC is, if there's such a thing as, I'm not even going to guess. There's Prince William County, and, so on and so forth, so I can see the most recent mobiles and see where they are, and then it says how old they are. And this age here must be because I'm so old that it just rolled over to a 0 or something. So that's what's going on there. And then there's a spotting page that I would look at as well, and I would show you that, and maybe I can run a B-roll or something, but now that spotting page is empty because nobody's being spotted now since the contest is over. But that's kind of cool. It's, again, the question, as a mobile, should I even use the spotting page, or should I just start, camp on a frequency and start calling and then become the spot? I think I will get more attention and more people if I become the spot. Let me collect some POTA stuff. I'm out here. I'm going to do a POTA activation, and then maybe I will share a POTA pileup just to give you the idea of how it could have sounded. Kilo Echo 8 station.
Kilo Echo 8, uniform, Kilo X-ray.
Kilo Echo 8, uniform, Kilo X-ray. You are a 5-9 into Park Kilo 0016. Gosh, still trying to get my log sorted here. So yes, very strong signal. Go ahead.
Roger, roger. You are blasting into the state of Ohio, 59 plus 20.
All right, that's good to know. I am a mobile station, by the way, so it's nice to know that my Scorpion is doing something right tonight. So I appreciate your call. This is Kilo Echo 4, Whiskey Mike Foxtrot, QRZ. All right, I heard an Alpha Alpha.
Alpha 8, Juliet Lima.
8, Juliet Lima. Alpha 8, Juliet Lima, you are 5-9 into Park Kilo 0016.
QSL, the 5-9, you're a 5-9, and on peaks you actually going 5-9 plus 10. 73, and thanks for the park.
All right, thanks for the call. Appreciate it. QRZ.
Echo.
I gotta ask, is there a station out there beginning with Yankee?
Yankee Victor 1, Golf Italy Yankee.
All right, I heard Yankee Victor. Let me try that again. Go slowly, please. Go ahead.
Okay, Yankee Victor 1, Golf Italy Yankee.
Yankee Victor 1, Golf Italy Yankee.
Roger.
All right, you are a 5-5 into Southeast Virginia. Roger.
Okay, 5-5,
All right, thanks for calling. This is Kilo Echo 4 Whiskey Mike Foxtrot Mobile QRZ. Oh, it's station beginning with a November.
November Golf 5 Echo, Maritime Mobile.
November Golf.
November Golf 5 Echo, NT5E, Maritime Mobile.
I was going to ask for the Maritime next. I wasn't sure if it was you. So yes, November Golf Echo. November Golf 5 Echo. You are 5-9 into Southeast Virginia. Park Kilo 0016 QSL.
Okay, QSL, coming in beautifully out here. 5x9, 59 in the Gulf of Mexico, about 100 miles off Louisiana.
All right, sorry for the delay. I wanted to put that note in there to say that you, because I didn't put the stroke M in your call. I'm just going to go with Gulf of Mexico, and let's see. Let's put. I'm going to put a Mike in there so that I remember that you are a Maritime Mobile. That's very good. All right, thanks for calling. This is KE4WMF Mobile QRZ. All right, I appreciate you being here. Let me know if you have any questions. I'm glad to answer. I'm still learning as I go, and then maybe we can learn from each other. So thanks a lot for being here. I'll talk to you next time. Take care. I'm not quite the YouTuber yet that can focus on all of that and get it all going. Plus, this thing, this is a Hero 9. GoPro has not got this stuff right yet. This is a Hero 9, but the Hero 7, the 8, the 9, the 10, the 11, the 12, and whatever else they got going on, they still have not figured out how to keep their stinking cameras from overheating. So I am over this thing. I have it and I use it because it's still handy, but I cannot count on it and rely on it. There's no way I would just leave this on my shoulder here and expect it to run for very long before it just overheated or the battery went kaput, because it only goes down to 35% and then the camera shuts off. So yes, I hate to think. Next up, DJI Osmo 3. That's the camera that I'm going to get next, and that one apparently does not have any of those problems that the GoPro has. So there's my GoPro slam on my unrelated video.